We live. Let's get it. Y'all know how we do, man. Always pushing help, well, better understand the self, man. We're gonna do a real in-depth, deep movie review. Shout out to Mind and Veil. Him breaking down the codage. Y'all know I be on the coded stuff that be in movies and all of the weirdo stuff that's going on. But in this review, y'all, I'm gonna show y'all that a lot of stuff they put right in front of our faces. Again, shout out to Mind Unveiled. We're gonna review this where he breaks down all of the scenes in Decoded and let us know all the the satanic stuff that they want us to kind of figure out of what's going on, because they can't just do it like to you. They gotta let you know what's going on. So make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, push me on the algorithm. I greatly appreciate that. Without further ado, let's get it,
A
man.
lot of you are going to be creeped out by it. It's kind of crazy that they're putting this right in our faces now. I mean, they always have, but it's even more blatant now. It's really on the nose. This movie on the surface seems like it's a sports horror movie, but it's much more than that. And I honestly don't even think it's about football. That's just a symbol being used. I think it's about the celebrity industry in general. And I will say, I actually enjoyed it. I don't think the ending was good, and it was produced by Jordan Peele, so I do see parallels in this film to some of his other horror films. But overall, I thought it was a good film. I'm not sure what all this bad review stuff is, because to me, there were layers of symbolism and suspense, and I think it's much better than a lot of other movies coming out nowadays. Anyways, let's just jump right in, because this movie gets into SRA, Achrome, literally Zay as Diddy, and we get several satanic MK Ultra references with secret CIA cults. There's a lot, so let's break everything down. By the way, there will be spoilers, but I honestly think it's better if you watch the breakdown, then go watch the movie, but that's up to you. First, we get a production shot of Jordan Peele's production company, which I thought was kind of weird. Monkey Paw Productions, stirring tea with the fleur-de-lis on it. The movie starts with a Super Bowl championship. It's an ad saying, "Sports, leader with real consequences." And this mixed kid with blue eyes is watching his favorite team. And yes, him being mixed was a conscious choice, is another symbol. He's watching his favorite sports team, the Saviors. Then we see this table filled with a bunch of sports items and trophies. Saviors defend the righteous. And notice these mascots here, which look very strange. One is a demon, a knight, and the other one seems to be some type of Mexican costume. Already, it's clear they are associating sports with religion and worship. Also notice the pyramid by the candle. Here we get a close-up of the kid, and the announcer says it's more than just a game. And as he watches, this Isaiah White, the QB for the Saviors, has been having a fairy tale year. Already we can see that the dad is grooming this kid to become a football star. He says, "Fingers on the laces, remember that." And then we get a close-up of these mascots. Then the kid starts chanting like a ritual for Isaiah to win. Chanting music comes on, as if he's praying to God. It's a touchdown, and they start freaking out, acting like fanatics because their team won. But Isaiah got hurt, and we see this knight mascot again, which looks kind of creepy. This kid is scared for Isaiah. It's his hero. And they also have this drawing of this weird demon mascot behind him. This kid is realizing his god might be dead, as his dad forcibly turns his head to continue watching the game when his dad says, "That's what real men do. They make sacrifices." And it shows his cross chain as he's saying this. Interestingly, it even kind of mocks sports betting here, where the announcer says, "Your bet's as good as gold," basically hinting towards sports betting being rigged. Then, his dad is grooming him in the scene as the kid starts chanting, "I'm him, I'm him." While he's saying this, the TV is playing a spiral American flag, foreshadowing that this is a part of some type of mind control or grooming. It's 8 years later now, and Isaiah White has won 8 championships. Everyone's shocked how he could keep going after such an injury. It's unbelievable. He has 8 rings. He's a different breed. The news is kind of congratulating him, and they promote him as the story of America, clearly hinting towards false beliefs being programmed to the masses. He's just like you guys. You can do it too. He's the undisputed GOAT. And as it says this, it shows a demon mascot tying the goat theme to Satanism. But now everyone's talking about who's going to replace Isaiah White. And as it says this, the demon starts pouring out a red fluid, which is foreshadowing and hinting towards the pouring of blood, sacrifice. Now we come back to that kid from the beginning. It's Cameron Cade. He's fully grown and in college now, and they think he's going to be the next Isaiah White. It says that basically you have to be obsessed if you want to make it. Does he have what it takes? The movie then zooms in to the cross with Jesus on it, symbolizing sacrifice. Does he have what it takes to be a sacrifice? A savior? Very on the nose here. Now we're back at his home 8 years later, and we see the trophies, and now we see a photo of his dad in military uniform, who has now passed away. It says glory, honor, and sacrifice? This is another clue for later. So Cam's being interviewed as many scouts are looking at him to join the league. His mother says his father's here in spirit, taught Cam everything he knows. But she says something interesting here. The mom says that Cameron's dad would say, "I can already see it now, Cam running down the tunnel with fire and smoke." Now this may seem random, but it's not. This is foreshadowing for later. It's a reference saying his dad wanted Cam to be worshipped, and this tunnel through fire and smoke is referencing going to hell. The interview right after this says, "You could be the next GOAT." Obviously not just using it for lingo, it's a symbolic reference here. He says, "God willing, yeah, I want to be the GOAT." In the next scene, he's practicing on a field by himself when the field goal starts rattling in a strange way. Then the ball starts spinning, and it doesn't stop. Cam notices this, and it starts to weird him out. He's staring at this spiral. He picks up the ball, and now there's a man in a demon mascot holding what looks to be like a warhammer. Take note that the man in the mascot outfit is black. This mascot then hits him in the back of the head, and boom, title screen comes up. I guess that was just the intro. And now the movie started.
Oh, cow dog.
The title screen appears to show a close-up of the head with stitches or staples, but here they look glass-like, and you can see some type of crystallization happening, almost like it's some tech. The next scene, he's in a hospital, and the doctor is saying he has an injury that could take anywhere from weeks to years to heal. So all we know at this point is there was some type of head injury that happened, and he might not be able to play football anymore. The mother's trying to tell him everything's going to be alright, and he's obviously upset. But as the doctor's talking about his head injury, there is a shot that shows a clock and an anatomy mannequin with one eye. You may think that's a reach, but this movie's filled with one eye symbolism. There's no denying it. There are two on the nose with it. The doctor says this injury could be career ending, and then it shows the staples in his head. Now it seems the doctor's opinion is it's too dangerous for him to play football. He could die. But Cam says, "How do you feel as a fan?" And when he says that, the movie's basically saying that the truth is, he's risking his life to play football. But when he hears this, it clicks in his head what his dad told him. Real men make sacrifices in order to become the GOAT. So basically, he doesn't care. He's willing to die in order to make it in the league. And that's correct, because the next scene, he's at the combine. So it does seem at this point in the movie that was real. He did get a head injury, but all we know is that it was done by some demon mascot. It's not clear how much Cam remembers about it. He didn't even see who did it. So he's at this event, and it's clear they're trying to set Cam up to be the...
Yeah, found this like a breakdown of showing you like the demonic stuff that's in it, but I ain't watch it yet, but I'm gonna watch it after this. It was people saying it's good to watch it after
next GOAT. In the next scene, He's with his family, getting his hair cut in the back, when it's clear something isn't quite right with Cam. He's getting these phone notifications, his family's arguing with each other because his mom is concerned about his injury. And while this is going on, there is this crawling code sound effect. And then the hair clipper clips his head injury and he starts bleeding while freaking out, saying, "I'm good, I'm good." A lot of these sports journalists are trying to interview Cam because they all know about this injury. But his agent is kind of answering questions for him, where one journalist asked, "Is he going to replace Isaiah White?" And the agent calls it tinfoil hat stuff. And that seems like nothing, but it's a hint that there are some deep conspiracies referenced in this film. The next scene, he's in a hall, looking all sad, when he hears a goat sound. He turns around, and remember that tunnel reference I was talking about? This is the tunnel. Also notice his number is 7. That's no accident, but we can talk about that later. So this part's really weird. In the tunnel is this strange guy hunched over in a Mexican hat. He's being very strange. And then we get a close-up, and maybe it's just me, but this looks like Alex Jones to me. I don't think they were going for that. I mean, maybe, but that's just the first thing I thought. Basically, this is a Savior fan, a fanatic. But it's not clear if this is real or not.
Yeah.
The movie almost makes it seem like it's some surreal dream. This is one of his worshippers, and he wants an autograph. He wants Cam to sign his forehead, which again doesn't seem accidental. His third eye, or divine center, where DMT is produced, is being signed, or the idea of a god or worship idol is being programmed straight into his third eye. But it's almost a symbol for the masses. And then randomly he starts making goat noises. Next, Cameron is at a party getting drunk and high, something he normally doesn't do. And it's obvious he's stressed out, having a bad day. He feels like he's about to lose everything he worked so hard for because of this injury. But his agent calls.
Hey, Mama Lisa.
He has some good news apparently.
Yeah, we got a movie.
Looks like the Saviors want to give him a shot, but they want Cameron to train with Isaiah White for a week to see if he has what it takes to be the QB for the Saviors. Cameron can't believe what he's hearing. He's literally getting an offer to go mentor under his idol, his hero. So of course, he goes through with it. Next, we're on the road and he's driving pretty out here. We're in some desert land, looks like Arizona or Midwest, not sure. Wherever they are, it's out here. So they pull up in this driveway, and there are these people out front dressed and painted as Savior fans. And we're already seeing multiple references kind of mocking religion or using it as a way to highlight sports religion. These people are like real sports fanatics. But to highlight this, they're dressed up as devils, and they have this strange clown makeup. We then get a jump scare. This woman jumps on the window, and the movie's making it clear that these people are insane fanatics. Obviously slightly exaggerated, but this is an analogy to highlight real sport fans' behavior. This woman's freaking out because they're obsessed with the old GOAT, Isaiah White. And just in case it wasn't obvious enough, the driver literally says his fans are like a cult. That's important to remember for later. So they show up to Isaiah White's property, and it's extremely weird, surreal, and a cult. Obviously hinting that this isn't just a house, but I can elaborate on that in a second. It's more of a facility. So Cameron shows up at the door. The door opens on its own and he lets himself in. And now we can see the home is very occult or secret society looking. It's not clear yet, but it will be as we progress. The camera zooms in on these weird art pieces, like these skulls, and in one shot, I think they actually added AI art in the background. You see these children in front of an arched door on a checkerboard floor. To the right of that, and above the skull, is a black sun. And on the floor tiles, you see this Vajra looking symbol. Apparently it's a part of the Savior's logo, but I thought it was interesting that it's in the shape of a Vajra, which is not only an ancient weapon, but it's specifically associated with ritualistic use. So he's walking around the house, and he's kind of getting weirded out, like what is all this stuff? We see all these ancient artifacts, knights, sculptures, and while this is going on, a song called Strawberry Letter 23 is playing. Now, see, many reviewers would actually miss this. This is a psychedelic love song about transcendence, obsession, and losing yourself in another person. The contrast is pretty intentional. It's hinting to a soft romantic vibe while masking the even subtler energy of ritual seduction. It literally says red magic satin and blue flower echo, which clearly connects to the blood cult and mind control themes running throughout the film.
I ain't noticed
Sometimes
that.
the song choices are the biggest hints because a lot of people don't pay attention to that. It's signaling that this is a trap, an MK Ultra lullaby dressed as soul music. And it's not just seduction, it's about identity. In the song, it switches between 22 and 23, the letter changes, the person changes, like Cameron, who's being lured into merging with another man's legacy and losing his own sense of who he is. He then looks at this pyramid. The pyramid has 8 rings. Interesting that they would show this during this time. Then, Cam finally meets Isaiah White, and he's hammering something. We see these skulls on the walls and these pellets. So they meet, and to me, this house is completely out of character for Isaiah White. I mean, it's not impossible, but let's be real. It doesn't really fit his personality. Isaiah, or Zay as he likes to be called, compliments Cam on one of his college games. And Cam's like all giddy, he can't believe it. His idol actually watched one of his games and is complimenting him. Zay says sorry about the mess,
Exactly. They
and it
told me
zooms in to this
about-
dead animal head, which is what he was beating on. Zay says he likes to live off the land. Weird thing to say, but it's a subtle nod. Cam says, "Did you kill it yourself?" Zay doesn't answer and quickly changes the subject. Interestingly, you see this in a lot of other Jordan Peele films. It'll like slip in lesser known historical facts into the movie, and this is one of those instances. Zay says, "Do you know why quarterbacks exist?" And he tells this true story about how these Native American boys at the Carlisle Indian School beat the Yale team of white boys who clearly outsized the Native Americans, but the Indians outsmarted them and started doing these trick plays. One was the forward pass. Now take note that he's mentioning Yale because that also comes into play here. But Zay's telling Cam that they created the quarterback to make the game more brutal. He said kids were literally dying on the field. These Indians were the one who perfected the forward pass spiral. Back to that spiral reference again. And this is what led to the creation of quarterbacks. But it's a 2-layer symbol. Obviously talking about mind control, but more than that, it's control over the outcome. I'll talk more about that at the end, but this is one of the aspects I find very interesting about the movie, is this is real football history. He's kind of exposing some hidden truths in the history of sports in general. Cam's like, okay? Then Zay says, "Don't be no mascot," which is clearly tying the Indians to mascots, as that's what happened to the Indian teams. And we see an old picture of a man with hundreds of animal skulls stacked as he's saying this. The movie is hinting that these are the Indians who essentially sacrificed themselves for the quarterback position. But on another level, it's equating this death and sacrifice with being a quarterback. That's why Cam is here. Then weirdly, Zay asks for his cell phone. As he does this, there's this strange carpet with a cross in red. Zay tells Cam he has to go through radical detachment. He's basically going through a mini boot camp. Then Zay asks for help with the animal skin. Let's just have fun. Day 1 is fun. So the movie now starts doing this day thing. So the first day, he's training on the field, and we see that Savior logo with the Vajra. We then get this basic training montage where he's throwing the ball and working out. They're having a great time. But this is just the start. Zay introduces Cam to his own personal doctor named Marco, and he immediately notices his head injury. Now this part's weird, but it's not random. Marco tells Cam to take his clothes off, and Cam thinks it's just a joke. But then Zay's like, you heard him, take off your drawers. It literally says that in the movie. Zay wanted to see Cam's junk. So Cam gets naked, and a doctor's giving him a physical where they measure and weigh him. And as this is going on, Wyatt says, you know, when you love something, it's easy to make sacrifices for it. What do you love? Cam says family. But Zay says, okay, I'll remember that when you can't push any further. Zay says family's not enough if you want to transcend the game, almost hinting that this is more than just football. You're going to need more than just external motivation. And then there's this weird part where Zay tries to humiliate him for getting fully naked, pretending like he only wanted him to get into his underwear, when Zay literally said, take your drawers off. So Cam's like, what? Then Cam meets Miss White and her assistant. They both seem to really like him. But immediately there's something strange about Miss White. She's extremely sexual, runs like the sex store crystal business, and hands Cameron a crystal to stick up his rear. Yeah, that's not an accident either. Then he's in a room getting an ice bath, eating fruits, and he looks over and he sees Zay's getting his blood taken. Apparently Zay's blood has higher oxygen levels right now, so he's preserving it for a day when he wants to use it. So it's a future transfusion when he's not at his best performance. Now it's not clear yet, but it will be later in the film. But Zay says, you want a hit? This is clearly a Achrome reference. I'll expand in a moment. But already at this part in the film, it's clear that this blood is used for rejuvenation purposes, for becoming young again. Zay then leaves the room, and then out of nowhere, Marco injects Cameron with the blood even though he said he didn't want any. This is Zay's blood. As Marco is leaving, he says some religions would consider his blood holy. Whoa, what? Then right after this blood shot, the lights turn off. This proves it's Achrome because right after he gets the shot, he starts hallucinating. He starts hearing things. Then he goes underwater, but he sinks, kind of like in Get Out. If you've seen that movie, you know exactly what that symbolism means. He's being put under hypnosis or mind controlled into being transformed into a new being. Then he wakes up. He gets splashed by a trainer named Malik. Day 2 is Poise. He's running in the desert with Zay, and he can't keep up. Mobb Deep starts playing. Is he a crook or is he faking it? Are you in the gang or are you in the club? No, he can't keep up. He ain't a crook. Then he starts coughing and he actually throws up. He passes out here, and then you hear these footsteps. You think it's going to be Zay, but it's this demon mascot thing walking up to him with the warhammer, and the mascot actually strikes him and kills him. But it was just a hallucination. It's not a mascot. It's Zay. Are they connected? I think so. I think that's what the film's doing here. They bring Cam back into the house and give him oxygen. And Zay's asking Cam a bunch of hypotheticals. Would you rather never get tired or never get injured? Then Zay says, what if you could avoid getting injured? Then these guys show up to the training field, and it gets really weird. Well, first, Zay tells Cam to sit this one out, since he's tired, and then literally blows him a kiss. I'm telling you, throughout this whole movie, Zay is acting zesty, and literally has one earring. Pretty clearly, this is referencing Diddy, but we'll see that more as we progress. Now you may think that's a reach, but literally right after blowing him a kiss and licking his lips, the movie makes it even more on the nose because right after this, he takes notice of all the people without their shirt on. Then out of nowhere, Marco comes up and injects Cam with Zay's blood again. Weirdly, we can see now there's an emoji shrugging on the syringe. Seems to be signifying like, oh, what's in this? And a smiley shrugging, I don't know. But it's hinting to this being a mysterious blood, not normal blood, aka Achrome. Now it's not just that, it's multi-layered, but we'll discuss that more. It's just one aspect to the symbolism. And right after he gets shot, his pupils dilate, again connecting the psychedelic mind control themes, meaning it's not just a stimulant. Okay, and during this scene there's a fast-paced shot that's only for a split second, You can't really see it if you're watching the movie normally. But if you pause on the frame, I can't really show it because it's gory. It seems to be like some intestines opening up. Some type of biological change is happening within him. Now, he's ready to train. And it does this loop thing with the film shots where it's very close to his eyes, which hints towards him being under a trance or
Real
hypnotic loop,
dog.
meaning this is a part of his programming, his literal training. So he's doing this training exercise where he has to throw the ball to his receivers. And it's going well, but then Zay says that he needs a volunteer. And the only white guy in the group is all excited and says, "I'll do it." And so he stands in front of this automatic thrower, almost like he's done this exercise before, and then the music changes. Obviously something's about to go down. Now, the loop begins again, and he's doing his training, but now they're adding a trauma element to his training. Basically, if one of his receivers misses the ball or doesn't catch it, even if it's not Cam's fault, Malik will put a football in this automatic thrower and it will hit this guy right in the face. So, he makes a mistake and Zay starts acting psychotic and says, "Oops." Everyone is aware about what's going to happen except Cameron. So, if Cam messes up, this guy gets hurt, and this football's going very fast. It hits him right in the face. Cam's shocked and can't grasp what's going on, so he makes another mistake. And Zay says, "Shh," hinting towards this being a secret. Meaning this is the first hint towards SRA, silence. Then the abuse continues. But what's weird about it is this guy willingly decided to do this. He's like happy about it. Meaning this guy and these other players are most likely brainwashed as well. Cam gets really scared. He's like, what the heck is going on? Zay is telling him this isn't a game. Because obviously this is not a game, this is something else. Which is what I was hinting to earlier. This movie is telling you this isn't about the game or the sport. And while he's saying this, the camera looks at the other people because Cam's trying to look around and see if anyone else is seeing this, and no one cares. Not even Marco. Because it's almost as if they've seen this before. So Cam starts to get it, he just needs to lock in. So the loop starts again, and he's doing the exercises. There's this scene where the camera zoomed in on Zay, and for a split second, it shows an old vintage football helmet, which is hinting that the mind control programming goes back to the origin of the entire league. Cam starts to do better, but then one of the guys fails to catch it on purpose because he's like trying to catch it with one hand. So they turn up the speed on the Hail Mary machine. But the thing is, they want Cam to make mistakes. They're doing this on purpose. This is a part of his mental mind control and domination through trauma. So Cam is making the plays, but they start shooting the football at this guy anyways.
That's how they made
And
Patrick
Zay's just
Mahomes.
laughing. He thinks this whole thing is hilarious. And it even shows a tooth on the ground. It shows Malik here, and obviously he's crazy. That's important for later. Now everyone starts fighting as Cam starts to get angry. And again, with the flamboyant stuff from Zay, he gets all close to Cam saying, "You shouldn't talk like that on the field." And it's weird because he comes at him all sincere and feminine, and then just starts screaming in his face, telling him that he's the QB. It doesn't matter if the wide receiver doesn't catch it. All the blame goes to him. All the glory and all the defeat. It's all on him. And after yelling at him to show domination, he then weirdly boops his nose. Now we're back in the loop, and he's starting to do better, but Zay is still clapping like a weirdo. But Cam's actually worried about this guy who is getting abused. Cam is a good guy, he has a good heart, and he's the only one going to check up on him. But this guy is just laughing hysterically. He's like, "Do you get it?" As if it was just a big joke. And not only that, he thanks Zay for the opportunity to be abused. Here, Zay even demeans him while he's worshipping him. Cam's like processing all this, and he starts bleeding from his head injury. He goes to Marco, and Marco says it's nothing. We find out that Zay also had a head injury that was far worse apparently. It says it causes bleeding from his tear ducts, which is very strange to bring up because that's connected to another topic that I'm not going to elaborate on. Then Marco whispers, turns out that human skulls weren't designed to smash into each other, which has multiple layers, but it connects to the history we were told earlier. So he takes the staples out of his head and tells him to go sit in this pressurized isolation room. Zay's here too, and Cam is still worried about that guy, but Zay makes a joke that if he can't remember his name, he must not care that much. Remember, this is war, he says. They're having a conversation when Zay says, you know how they say God, family, and football? He says, yeah, well for me, it's football, family, God. Again, notice the layers and inversion here? They are the saviors. So this means he is a demon, the opposite of Christ, the devil. Then Zay leaves, telling him to relax, and Cam is in the chamber when it shows them turning up the pressure levels. He then starts hallucinating voicemails, he starts banging on the door because this is causing him a lot of pain, and he even starts bleeding, painting an S for saviors on the window. He is hallucinating here because during the scene, someone is in the room with him with that old vintage helmet. Then he wakes up again. He gets more blood transfusion, and we see a similar cut where it's showing the anatomy and intestines. But this time, everything's getting rebuilt and healed, showing his body's transforming from this blood. Day 3 is leadership.
Energizer's 3-in-1 Child Shield is the world's first coin lithium battery that has 3 different safety features.
So he's training in gear now, and they're being much tougher with him. He's getting tackled very hard. And as it happens, it shows that shot from the title screen, these glass crystal staples crystallizing on his skull, symbolizing his transformation. But there are these strange sound effects, almost like it's some type of technology. Zay says, the game rewards violence. Again, you aren't a killer, you aren't a crook, you aren't in the gang, you aren't in the club. They're teasing him and demeaning him, and it's clear this is MK Ultra stuff. They're trying to trigger him into an alternative personality. Zay lays it out. He's chasing validation from strangers, from his idol, his god, his worship. And these are facts. And then he tries to traumatize him even more by saying his father didn't love him. This isn't a game. This isn't for fun. Literally, football is your everything, your god. And again, with the Diddy stuff, he gets super close to his face and starts crying. You'll just have to watch it to see what I'm talking about. Now all of a sudden, Cam's doing much better. He's turning literally into a killer, which is another MK Ultra sleeper agent hit. He's being activated. In the very next scene, he headbutts this other dude on the field. And it seems like he actually kills him or at least paralyzes him, which is showing he's willing to sacrifice everything. He isn't just a pretty boy. And it shows you the x-ray while this is happening to show you the reality of what.
So what I really learned so far from this is the NFL and sacrifice. I don't know why would they do a movie like this too, and knowing the stuff that they got going on. Well, just recently it's been a lot of stuff about the NFL is rigged, but this is gonna make people think, in my opinion, a negative way.
What's going on? Zay is impressed, but Cam's starting to wake up from his trance a bit and realizes what he just did. He got lost and something else took over. Zay then nods in approval. Then Zay says, there he is, meaning this was the groomed creation he was looking for.
That's what's up.
This is no longer Cam. And then he literally hugs him, telling him how proud he is. Then they all start chanting while this guy's on the floor dying. Amen. Then we get a shot of his house. It doesn't even look like a house, or like a training facility or a temple. Cam is walking through some hallways now, and you can tell something's off. As he's walking, he hears.
It's crazy, but this is what's probably done naturally and regularly to people. like kids, like playing football, trying to be great, crazy, but we're probably putting kids through this regularly, especially I'm from
There's
Florida.
this faint whirring noise coming from behind a circular door, and he tries to listen in. Then a football hits the ground and bounces towards him. He gets scared, and now he's between these two doorways, and you start hearing that same spiral static sound again.
Appreciate you, Mama Lou.
The camera zooms into the black doorway, and there is someone in here, but we don't see who. Then there are these flashing lights. It's the paparazzi. Cameras going off. Is this real or a dream? At first, it didn't sound like cameras. It sounded like someone getting electrocuted. Then, out of nowhere, someone puts plastic wrap tight across his face, but it's kind of a symbol.
He is
He's
weird,
suffocating, literally being smothered by the same fame that made Isaiah a god.
Roman.
The news anchors are laughing, interviewing him like he's a star, but in the background, the demon mascot is in control, choking him, because the price of worship is sacrifice. He then rips off the plastic wrap. It was just a hallucination.
Yeah, they grooming him.
Next, we see him on the phone with his mom. He forgot her birthday, and that small detail shows that he's losing sense of time. Memory loss, time distortion. It's kind of a part of a trauma cycle. While he's talking, we see this figure outside in the rain watching him in the window, wearing what appears to be a red robe at first, standing completely still. Keep in mind the red robe represents blood and initiation. He's being watched by someone. Then Marco shows up drunk and tells him it takes blood to grow a king. He's admitting that the transformation requires human blood. That football is a modern gladiator sacrifice. Entertainment built on blood. Then he says never kill yourself for a job. But the contrast is Marco already did. The job is killing him slowly. He wanted this job to heal and help people, but he got something else entirely. Then Marco looks at him seriously and says, "It's a shame you're so talented and how well I prepared you." Cam asks, "Prepared me for what?" But Marco doesn't answer. He just walks away. Then he mentions the Colosseum. Only one leaves, basically admitting this is a blood sport built on sacrifice, not about who wins the game, but who survives the ritual. We cut to outside again, and it seems the red-robed figure is gone. But the camera turns around, and we see who was standing outside. It's this strange, surreal scene with that crazy woman from earlier, who's now in a red jacket. That's not an accident. And she has what looks to be clown makeup, which is not an accident either.
Salute,
I mentioned
bro.
this in my weapons
Salute.
review because it has the same symbolism, but clowns are a reference for CIA handlers. I'll talk more about that in a sec.
Gotta get on
But
that
yeah,
network. With
behind
you, bro. You
her
gotta hit
are
me.
these two weird
that
guys
love.
wearing football heads. These are the same fanatics from before when Cam first showed up. The worshippers. But now it's clear they're not just fans. On the surface, they're mad because Zay is about to be replaced with Cameron, and Zay is their god, their goat. And then it shows a painting of Zay. Cameron says, "What's it like being the goat?" Again, notice how we're talking about goats right after seeing that red-robed woman. Zay says it was a blessing, and then it shows these African masks on the wall. Then it shows these two doorways again, hinting that this is about to get occult and ritualistic. Zay says, "What's the use of having this blessing? One day, you have to give it all up." So they're having this conversation in the sauna room, and Zay says he has this reoccurring nightmare. He's sitting alone on a dirty couch, watching TV, watching someone else do what he was best at.
Fanatic.
But this is almost hinting towards him being replaced and how he's fearful. Then Zay starts talking about one of the things that he will miss the most is the smell of locker rooms. Like, what? And even Cam's like, "Bro, what did you just say?"
People,
And yeah, just in case you thought I was reaching with
why
the
I
whole
don't
Diddy
like it.
thing, it's about to get pretty crazy here. He says it smells like brotherhood because it's not about the game, it's about brotherhood. He's telling him this in a sauna where you're naked and sweaty. The sauna, the robes, it's referencing secret society initiations. Just wait, it's about to get insane. Then he says he misses going through the tunnel. That's a callback to what Cam's dad said earlier about running through fire and smoke. The tunnel is the passage, the ritual gate from oneself to another. But it's coded because he says it leads to the light of the field. But in this movie, everything is inverted. The tunnel isn't leading to heaven. It's hell and initiation disguised as victory. He literally says he misses the chanting, the worship. Zay says, do me a favor. Don't be me. Almost like a warning, but not. He's saying to be even better, but you can tell there's some type of concern in his eyes. Cam asks what he means, and then Zay goes into this strange hypothetical. You're starving in a prison and someone asks you if you want food or freedom. It's a trick question, meaning if you want to be free, you have to starve and die. So you're stuck in the prison. It's circling back to his other hypotheticals. He has no choice basically. Then Zay leaves the sauna. But remember this for later. He says, I'm going to go watch some tape. On the surface, it's sports tape. But yeah, there's deeper meaning there. You'll see.
Maybe.
Then the temperature starts rising. Cam starts to hear noises, and there's a shot of the ice bath, I believe, but it's shaped like horns. Okay, this part is very weird, so get ready. Cam lays down to relax, and then a few seconds later, someone crawls out from under the bench. So she's been there the whole time listening? It's that lady in the red robe jacket, the lady with the clown makeup. She gets up and then gets one of these hot rocks to try and kill Cam. But wait, how did she even get in here? Then it shows that horned ice bath, and there are these weird fanatics dressed up painted wearing a football for a head. Remember, these are cult members. It literally called them a cult when Cam first got here. That's important because on the surface, these are just upset fans. But that's not what's actually going on here. And now we can see she is clearly in clown makeup. No question. It's the same thing like Gladys from Weapons. So she tries to kill him with this rock, but Cam notices her in time, dodges the attack, and this is the weird part. Cam starts choking her almost like she wants it and is enjoying it. Now on the surface, the movie's playing this out like these fanatics are trying to stop him from becoming the next White. But the deeper symbolism here is this is actually what creates him. This is activating his MK Ultra alternate personality. He is a sleeper agent. This isn't Cam right now. It's his alter ego. Cam would never do this. And once it seems that she's dead, Cam is shocked at what he just did. That's the symbol here. This is a secret cult. CIA behind the scenes, testing his sleeper agent capabilities. He can't believe what he just did. You may think that's a stretch, but it's not. We find out that Zay was watching the whole time. Remember, he supposedly went to go watch tapes. But wait, this is actually what he was watching? This now clearly connects Zay with this cult, and it continues. So this crazy clown woman comes back to life and tries to kill Cam again, but Zay then grabs her by the neck, and she likes it and starts acting like a demon who's possessed, sticking her tongue out. Then Zay literally makes out with her. So Zay's in the club, or cult, and it's obviously referencing some strange erotic rituals. But not just that, then Zay throws her against the wall, killing her. So sacrifice. Then the weird cult members come in and they start crying mommy, so she must be their handler as well. And now we see a triangle by the doorway. That wasn't there before, and the sauna meter is missing now. Then Zay starts celebrating, lifting his arms in a horned pose, literally forming a pentagram, calling himself God. Full satanic inversion, clearly referencing SRA here. And it continues. It even connects Zay to this woman even more because he's like impressed. He's telling Cam, did you see that? Wow, that's what it takes to win. She gets it. So wait, how did this woman get into the house? Why is Zay not fazed by it at all? And why did he just make out with her? Well, it's for the reasons I just stated. The fanatic cult clown leader is a symbol. And if it couldn't get any weirder, Zay tells Cam to leave so he can do something to this woman. The movie doesn't really spell it out, but there's blood everywhere. He wants to do something with her, whether that's drinking the blood, it doesn't really tell us. But it actually hints to something even darker than that, because he gets on the floor and says, I owe it to the fans. So, and this is very important, but the very next scene is of Miss White, Zay's wife. That's not a coincidence. Remember, she is extremely sexual. She sells sex crystals. So, that's connecting the woman from before to his wife, which they look very similar. She's saying, yeah, this is normal for us. It happens all the time. And if you notice, she's wearing the same makeup. It's just more clean. Red lipstick, blue eyeshadow. They're definitely connected. Cam chuckles and is like, yeah, obviously weirded out. And it seems he's having second thoughts about this whole thing. And again, you have to understand the context of what just happened to get the symbolism here. This scene, right after the sauna scene, with Cam and his wife, is blatantly sexual, which is alluding to the scene before. So Miss White invites him to go to a party with the girls, and at first he's hesitant, but he ends up going, and this scene proves what I was saying. Now, all the girls are down here in bikinis drinking red wine, and it's the same room from earlier where the ritual happened, and Marco's literally still cleaning it up. It hasn't even been 2 minutes, and already we have Miss White in the same room where this just went down, being sexualized, trying to lure Cameron. It's showing you this is an SRA room. I'll explain it more later, but remember, he was talking about steamy locker rooms, brotherhood, watching tapes. This is literally where Cam got diddied. But the movie doesn't spell it out, you just have to read the symbols. So all these women are trying to sexualize him now, right in front of the sauna room, and he's zoning out, almost going into a trance. I can't show too much of the scene because they literally take off his clothes in front of the room. It couldn't be more obvious what they're referring to. Then he wakes up the next day, can't remember what happened, so keep that in mind. That's another clue here. He has no idea what sexual events occurred last night. He lost his memory. Zay's sitting there waiting for him to wake up and notice his robe. Now I get it, people wear robes like this, but it's not an accident. This is like a ceremonial secret society robe. And he's asking if Cam had sex with his wife and he has a gun. But it's weird because how did he not know this party was going on? He had to. He had to allow it. So this is a reference.
Did he?
Cam says, no, I got a girl. But obviously something happened. Was it a hallucination? A coping mechanism? Zay starts laughing. And if you still didn't notice the Diddy stuff, he literally starts sucking on his gun. Then he says, I love you in this really weird way. And basically, Zay at first is trying to threaten Cameron on the premise that he's mad he slept with his wife and she cheated on him. But that's not what's going on. Zay is actually mad that he didn't sleep with her and is instead worried about some high school girlfriend. Basically, this is some weird intimidation tactic where he wants Cam to submit and ignore his moral values. Then Zay says, you know what? Let's kick it like bros, while they're both in robes. Day 4, resilience, and it shows a goat with one eye, proving this one eye symbolism is not by accident.
Alright. Like,
now they're outside hunting or pretend hunting fake animals. But the weird part is there are like these football scarecrow things, again hinting towards football and sacrifice. But remember, this movie's filled with satanic stuff. This is actually referencing hunting games, if you know about that. And it's crazy that this movie would even include that. Cam's feeling weird and even mentions how he feels bad about the lady that almost got killed. meaning it's still on his mind. It traumatized him. That's a clue because right after, Zay says, "What lady?" pretending that he doesn't remember. Or maybe this is a hint that something deeper was actually going on. Meaning that was a symbolic event. Remember, he has been hallucinating since he got his injury. So how do we know that wasn't a hallucination of sorts? His brain trying to process something else happening. Zay says, "I don't know what lady you're talking about." And Cam's like thinking, okay, was that a dream? And they're literally shooting at a person in a night mascot outfit. So this is a hunting game reference, as it's connecting to secret societies. Apparently, the knight is the target. He says we have no more to shoot, so they're shooting people. After shooting the knight, he says, "Oh yeah, that lady." Meaning, after another ritual abuse scenario, now he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember that other ritual abuse." But it's still not clear what lady he's referring to. Then he says, "Your turn," and hands the sniper to Cam, which is another MK Ultra reference, showing he's a sleeper agent, ready to kill. Then Zay says, "Let's make a little wager," kind of like a deal with the devil type of thing, where if he hits the target, meaning he shoots this person in the night outfit, Zay will give him any material thing he desires. But if he misses, Zay is going to take Cam's youth, clearly referencing body snatching and elite body replacement. Then Cam says, "Nah, if I miss, I might let you keep QB1 next year." And then when he says this, he looks at Zay with one eye, basically saying he's in the club now. Now he's doing the ritual abuse, and he actually shoots the night mascot, killing him. Then we see a montage where he's taking the blood injections himself now. He's ready to take over Zay. And now he's in a deprivation chamber where he hallucinates. And again, it shows the brain thing going off. He's transforming into something else. And now it's day 5. Vision. They're getting set up for an interview, but there's the same room design, hinting that football is just a stage show for these secret cults. They're interviewing Zay when he says the old tribes would make boys into men by dragging them into the wild, feeding them smoke and blood until the visions came. Again, a reference to that tunnel earlier. And it shows Cam with his eyes rolled back. He says that the blood they were fed was that of the fiercest warrior, so their spirit could be passed on to the boy who survived. Basically a ritual. The symbol here is Cam is being fed Zay's blood. So in a sense, Zay is being transferred over to Cam. So his youth is being taken because Cam seems to be possessed. Then he says football is no different. But instead of dragged, they're drafted, and gods sit in skyboxes. It's still the same ritual continued from ancient times. Then it shows Miss White holding a football in red light after he says that. I don't think that's a coincidence either. I'll explain it at the end, but listen. He says greatness takes more than talent and hard work, and then it shows his bloody eye. Remember, I talked about this earlier. It's not an accident that this is shown right after Miss White. He is traumatized by whatever gave him this injury. Keep in mind, Marco compared this injury to Cam's injury, meaning they were similar or connected, which implies that this injury wasn't because of football, but this was an injury given to him by the secret society satanic cult, meaning that's what it takes to be successful or great. Literally, he says surviving the death of who you used to be. And this trauma theme continues. The next shot is Cam crying, remembering the trauma of losing his father. He says the last thing he told his father was he was done with football because he just wanted to be a kid, meaning he was done with being groomed. And right after this, his dad died not too long after. But then he says that as long as he played football, his dad's death wasn't real. So a coping mechanism in false reality. I was just talking about that. So he does this for his dad, even though deep down, he really just wants to be a normal person. And then it shows Zay in the next shot, or Diddy, his new dad now basically. Then it shows Cam as the center for the Last Supper, meaning he's the sacrifice. He is the savior. The next scene Miss White is making sure that he still wants to do this. And something's really strange about her. I haven't mentioned this yet, but there's something androgynous about her because her eyebrows have blonde makeup on it or something. But she almost has masculine qualities. It's not a reach, I'll explain later. But yeah, and she has that clown makeup, which is on purpose. Interestingly, in this scene, she boops his nose, which I believe is a symbol showing dominance, meaning she is a handler. Miss White says, hey look, so they want to make an offer for you at this party. And she says they made the same offer to Zay 20 years ago. So apparently, these are some important people. But Cam doesn't really want to go, or he's not feeling the party. But Miss White manipulates him and uses reverse psychology to get him to go to this party. Okay, so they're leaving. Miss White has her arm around Cam, and she says to Zay, are you coming? And he says, nah, I'm gonna stay back and watch some tape. Again, we all know what this is referencing. Obviously, he's not gonna go watch football tapes. He literally says, you guys go have fun. He's gonna be watching what happens at this party. So they drive to some other location. It seems to be this motel called Recreation, but the only letters visible are RCRN. Cam's like, I thought you said this was a party. And she says, oh, they like their privacy. When you get to a certain level, anonymity is paramount. Basically hinting these guys are secretive. And then she says word for word that they do weird rituals. She's spelling it out for you here. They're up to weird stuff and they don't need anybody knowing who they are. She says one day this will all be his, and says remember, you're doing this for the culture. Cam's like, yeah, that's nice, but what did you mean by rituals? She says, oh, you know, just rich guy stuff. Then we see the entrance has these winged statues with candles and the red light, so obviously this isn't a normal party. A song comes on saying, I'm trying to be the goat. So there you go, this is satanic stuff. Then we see an S with a hexagram pattern, and they actually show the same exact pattern earlier in several scenes like the practice stadium and in that room. Marga comes up to Cam and says, the prodigal son has returned, which is a Masonic reference. Margo's all dressed up, and he quotes Jesus, something about blood and wine, and then whispers in his ear telling him to run. Cam doesn't really listen though because he sees that this agent's here, and they're both excited. But wait, why is the agent here? This shows that his agent was another handler from the beginning, which is sad. Agent then introduces Cam to the owners of the Saviors. So wait, these are the weird rich guys doing rituals? These are the people trying to be secretive? They sit at a table and they're all laughing, and there's a bottle of alcohol with the top being an L, another Masonic reference. Now this is where it gets weird, and it spells it out for you just in case you haven't been paying attention. Okay, so a waiter shows up with multiple glasses of red wine. This waiter is in the same pink mascot suit that we've been seeing throughout the film. But this waiter is actually a man dressed up like a woman. And right during this shot, one of the owners say, now I got a question. Are you ready to take the next step? That's on purpose. He's hinting to something here. And right then, the music turns eerie, hinting that there's something nefarious to that question. He raises his glass of wine, which Marco just a minute earlier referenced Jesus and compared wine to blood. Then they all drink and cheer, and Cam drinks the entire thing. As he does this, Zay is becoming rejuvenated and young again. The men are watching Cam after he drank this blood, and Cam doesn't look too good. Something's happening to him. He starts hallucinating again, almost like he's getting taken over by Zay. Then the party basically turns into a strip club, and Cam's partying, but during this, Miss White lifts up an axe, and it doesn't show it, but it seems like she cuts someone's head off. But we don't see anything. It's happening very fast paced with multiple clips. The scene cuts, and we see these black men behind a woman wearing a demon mask. Who is this woman? Well, the movie doesn't really elaborate, but I suspect it's Cam. Why? Well, because the next shot shows this very same mask in a room. And then it shows another shot of the checkerboard floor, just in case you weren't connecting this to secret societies. But what's not being shown is someone is being ritually sacrificed. And guess who picks up the mask? Cameron does. Meaning, I believe this is him in the shot, which only shows for a second, and it's subtle. The movie doesn't really explain it, because whoever wrote this doesn't seem to want that to be obvious, I guess. But yes, it shows Cameron's being emasculated. Now, it might not literally be him, but it's symbolic. There is some woman wearing a mask here, and it's obvious that Cam is trying to put the mask on or become one with the mask. As he picks up the mask and deciding whether he wants to put it on, there are these cuts showing him vomiting some diamond chains. It's pretty graphic. Also, the song playing is in sync with what's happening. Someone is being sacrificed here, and it seems there are multiple layers. On one level, Cam's old self is being sacrificed, as he puts on the mask and slowly becomes the... That's one level. But not just that. Literally, Marco was sacrificed here. His head was the one that got cut off. It would seem this is because Marco warned Cam and revealed the secret. But this proves what I was saying. All these mascots and fanatics are at the party. How is that possible? That means the mascots and fanatics are symbols. They're a part of the satanic cult CIA secret operation. The mascots are a part of the club. Also, it's not an accident that it's showing this group of black people here too. Then, the chaos stops, and Cam is actually in this room, so it's not a hallucination. Marco really got his head chopped off. She says, "Are you sure you're okay?" as she pulls out a blade showing she really did sacrifice Marco. Day 6 is sacrifice. And sorry for the blur. So now Cam is still alive, but he's back in this ice bathroom receiving a blood transfusion. It's Isaiah's blood, and then we see another one eye. He's on an ice bed being scanned, and notice that square and circle. That's another magical occult symbol, which is deep because on one level, it's representing sacrifice, but it also represents a spiritual journey in the union of opposites. But yes, squaring the circle is another Masonic reference. Here it seems to be used in a spiritual journey and sacrifice ritual type of way. But he's on what looks to be a sacrifice altar, so I'm leaning towards the sacrifice since it is the day of sacrifice. It seems he's been drugged and can't move right now. So he crawls over to this medicine table, where Marco left a syringe that says "run." And then it shows a shot of his body getting rejuvenated from this blood. He can walk now, and he goes to the pyramid with rings. And he's mad now. So he's walking down the hall when he sees a room with a red light. This is where Zay watches his tapes. And notice how there's a stage with red curtains. And notice on the door, it has the same sacrifice symbol. So this is where Zay watches his tapes? But what's weird is it hints to this being more than just football tapes, because he's looking at a TV that's distorted to look like an eye, meaning it's an all-seeing eye, kind of like Sauron's eye, meaning he sees everything. Interestingly, it zooms in and we see another demon with the vintage football helmet. Zay is watching this like in a trance. I mean, he's not even watching anything, so this must be a symbol. Well, Cam's fed up and tries to kill Zay, but Zay's faster and dodges it. The door closes, meaning someone's about to get sacrificed. And again, I know it seems I'm reaching sometimes, but like I said, the movie's so on the nose, it literally tells you. As it shows the door, Zay says, "I thought you were willing to sacrifice everything." Then Cam says, "Oh, so you've been giving me your blood on some weird white people shit." Zay tells him, "See, I knew you wouldn't mess with that. I knew it." Meaning, Zay was trying to initiate Cam without him knowing. Then we find out the truth. So it's actually not Zay's blood. We find out there's a tradition that's been going on for what I can assume is the beginning of the league, where essentially these secret societies would take the greatest players, or warriors, right? And they would take the blood of the great player, keeping them alive and transcending death, meaning their soul gets passed into another body. And in this way, the secret societies are controlling and rigging the game where they have power and control over the final outcome. Meaning Zay had a mentor before him, and Zay had to go through the exact thing Cam went through, and his mentor had a mentor, and so on. This is an occult tradition. He calls it a gift from the gods. Zay says it's that good stuff. Do you feel that? You don't feel the beast? And again, it's that multi-layered meaning. Yes, he's talking about this super warrior blood being passed on, but it's not just that. This blood rejuvenates his body, gives him hallucinations. A clear Akram reference. He says this stuff has been around since the beginning of the league. Whoever has this blood brings salvation to the people. Whoever has this blood is the GOAT. Then he says my contract is up at the end of the year. But he's not talking just about football. He's talking about his contract with the devil. Now this is strange, but basically they have to fight for who becomes the next QB. And I mean, I get it on one level, but it doesn't actually make sense because Zay is getting too old for this. I mean, he can't do it forever, so someone has to replace him. But who knows, maybe if Zay wins, he's going to take his body or something? Only one man can walk out that tunnel. So there's the tunnel again. And now Zay starts doing that inverted chant, football, family, God. And then he yells, I am him. Meaning him isn't about becoming him like the man culturally. It's about becoming the GOAT or a secret society member. He says this right after saying God. Meaning he's saying I'm God, but it's inverted. So it means he's the devil, the GOAT. And then they start fighting shirtless. It even shows an x-ray of them fighting. And then Zay actually breaks Cam's arm. Cam gets up and says, you know what the opposite of a savior is? A mascot. Then he raises a glowing helmet and uses this to kill Zay. Then everything starts shaking, almost like he broke the lineage. Or did he? Cam defeats his mentor, walks through the curtains, or the tunnel, into the light. But this is a gladiator reference. He's now ready to come out on the field. But wait, this isn't a normal football field. We get this strange surreal shot of a headless knight, which is an occult symbol in heraldry, and these mascots are now on crosses. And you have these pigs singing the Star-Spangled Banner, meaning he succeeded in this ritual test. He killed his mentor. Now he's fully accepted into the league, controlled by these pigs. Also, the cheerleaders are clowns and have fake faces. Then the song starts to get really weird and starts referencing slaves. We see that Cam is now standing in front of a pentagram and the headless knight. This is another ritual ceremony. But now things get even more clear. We see Miss White. Wait, what is she doing here? Don't you see? She is the handler. She is androgynous. She is the leader of the cult, the one who signs the contract, the devil. And if you look at her hands, look how old they look. That's hinting that she's actually much older than she looks, just like Gladys from Weapons. Again, connecting to Akram. Obviously, the cult partakes in blood rituals, and it's not just a stimulant. Also, the hammer is symbolic here too, being used as a ritual tool. Now they want him to sign the contract and receive the gifts from the gods, these men in pig heads, obviously referencing sacrifice. But think about it. A football is pigskin. That's why there were animal skins at Zay's house. It's a symbol for sacrifice. Literally, to play football, you have to sacrifice a pig. You're playing with a dead pig. Miss White is the one telling him to sign it, and it shows the contract. It's a sports contract and a contract with the devil, or the satanic cult. But Cam's being hesitant, and they're like, okay, what's going on? And this is when we find out that the agent is a part of the secret cult. I mean, they foreshadowed this, but now he's wearing the pigskins. These are the owners from earlier. But see, This proves that the agent was in on it from the beginning. And the agent then brings up his dad trying to manipulate him, but then it shows this picture of his dad with the owner of the Saviors, who is at this ritual ceremony. And this is when it clicks for Cam. Cam realizes this whole thing was planned since he was a child. And just in case you didn't catch that, the agent says it word for word. He says you were groomed since you were a child. Then the owner, the same run from that childhood photo, tells him, look, either sign it, I'm gonna kill your whole family. And that hints to what Zay was saying earlier with these hypothetical choices. You kind of don't have a choice, or each option sucks really. He either has to join the League and be a slave, or his whole family dies. Either way, he dies. But he remembers, real men make sacrifices. And then he goes to kill this guy in the mascot suit, which is the same one who hit him in the beginning, giving him that head injury in the first place. Now, I'm not sure about this, but I think this is actually Malik. The movie doesn't seem clear about this, but it looks like him. And notice that checkerboard floor again. Oh, and you can see that square and circle symbol here again. Basically, Cam says nah and starts killing everyone. The whole scene's very graphic. Then, his agent is begging Cam to kill him because he's scared of something else. And it seems that he gets taken by this invisible force, presumably the devil or some metaphysical demon. And that's basically the ending. I'd show more, but like I said, it's graphic, so. But yeah, now let me try to connect that together here for a moment. First, let me talk about how it's been received. So strangely, everyone's hating on this film. And honestly, I think it's kind of over-exaggerated. It's not that bad at all. Like I said, it could have had a better ending, but I honestly think it's good. Sure, some things are on the nose, but I like the
My bad, fam. My bad, fam. I think it's some stuff in there that's some truth. Me personally. But I mean, this was the review, but I'm like Mama Lee said, it got so much
story.
stuff in
It's
there. I feel like I already watched it.
heavily layered with symbols, good cinematography. I mean, it's not even close to some of the other horrible films coming out lately, which get good reviews. So this leads me to think this is actually contrived and on purpose so people won't go watch it. That's the first thing. The next is, so most of the movie reviews do see the satanic symbols, but I don't know, the way they put it together seems a little shallow. Like sure, this could be seen as trading fame for a Faustian bargain. You have the religious iconography that's overlaying sports culture.
Shout out
They
to
don't really dive deep into that. They just mention like the body horror and the idea that the film's about power, exploitation of racial classes. And I think that's true, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. Interestingly, I did see a review that tied the rings to Saturn worship and cycles of sacrifice, like Saturn eating its own children, right? But yeah, let's see what we can dive into with some of the deeper, darker aspects hidden in the film. Let's talk about this SRA. There are clear references to it. The first phase, or the first hint, was when he told him to take his drawers off. It was an initiation, humiliation reference, showing the power dynamic and forced exposure. Phase 2 is the scene where he gets his first blood baptism. Marco injects him with Zay's blood, and after saying some religions would call it holy, the lights go out, and he's pulled underwater.
Let's see.
It's a MK Ultra baptism death of old self, the birth of an asset. Phase 3, the pressurized chamber scene. This is isolation and torture. He's locked in, can't breathe, starts bleeding and hallucinates voices, draws an S for signing the covenant, and that old helmet was an apparition. It was the spirit of past victims or the previous mentors, ancestral initiates. Phase 4 is witnessing sacrifice. Cam has to watch someone else get abused while Zay says shh, meaning vow of silence. And then the team chant amen over the body, meaning ritual completion. This converts violence into worship. Phase 5, value inversion, reversal of divine order. Football, family, God. These are mantras used for trauma-based programming. Phase 6. The night mascot is killed. Cam kills one of the mascot knights himself, direct sacrifice and referencing hunting games. Right after this, blood injection follows, trauma disassociation, and his new persona takes over. Phase 7. The full ritual ceremony. And there are 2 of these scenes really, but the party there is a ritual sacrifice, and Cam is being welcomed into the club. Okay, so that's the SRA stuff, and it's heavily symbolic. But then there's this Diddy stuff, which I haven't seen anyone mention. It does seem that's actually a subtle nod here with Zay. So Zay is the zesty mentor daddy figure. He literally has one earring. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, but come on. That's been a symbol forever now. Throughout the movie, he is all up in Cam's face, complimenting his body, blowing kisses, and like I said, I mentioned this with the scene where he strips his clothes off. Something's weird's going on there.
Diddy,
but it's not just that. I think it's clear they're referencing the Black Boule, which is a real thing. But if you don't know, there was this guy years before the Diddy news broke out who stormed into the Trump Tower claiming that Diddy was a part of a secret society called the Black Boule, basically describing it as the Black Illuminati. At the time, everyone thought he was crazy. But years later, a lot of what he said actually came true. So it does make you wonder. In the movie, it definitely seems to be referencing that, because Zay is clearly in the club, a secret society, and Malik is too, as the mascot. During the party scene, you can even see a group of black men, one in a top hat, dancing in the corner, symbolizing the inner circle. It's showing that Zay is a part of this black secret society that operates under a larger white elite cult, the pighead owners, the real handlers. Once you connect the Diddy parallels and the SRA elements, it's obvious that's what the movie's hinting at. Remember, the entire thing is framed as mentorships, but this isn't mentorship in the normal sense. It's initiation, grooming, and control. And yes, the Boule is a real fraternity, and many of its members are household names. So it makes you think, what is this movie really saying? Is it really just about sports? I don't think I need to elaborate on that one weird scene with the crazy clown woman, but I did want to mention that it seems this clown woman and Miss White are the same person. Remember, the clown woman started acting like a demon. Zay makes out with her, and the very next scene is Miss White, which we find out later represents the devil and looks to be much older than she really is. But again, Miss White is a handler. She obviously knew Zay was about to be killed, and she didn't care that Cam succeeded, meaning she's not really Zay's wife. But as I mentioned earlier, the whole scene is symbolic for something else. That was just Cam's method of coping. Which another aspect to this whole thing is their last name is literally White. That's not by accident, and Cam being mixed isn't either. The film is hinting that by joining these secret societies, the black elite are symbolically becoming white, absorbed into the same power structure that once oppressed them. That's why he's Isaiah White, the chosen one, the savior of the saviors. It's like racial alchemy, turning black excellence into a tool for the same system, polishing it up so it serves the same masters. And Cam, being mixed, represents that in-between phase, the hybrid, the recruit being remade in the image of his handler. Now, me personally, I think the movie's actually a jab at these secret societies. It's not glorifying them, it's exposing them. At the end, when Cam refuses to sign the contract and turns on everyone, he's breaking the cycle. The ritual fails. That means the initiation didn't work. The blood, the grooming, the mind control, all of it was for nothing. He rejects it. So in a way, the movie is showing you Cam defeat the system. His name is Cam, meaning it's an inside look to the inner workings of the system. Almost like the movie's trying to expose it, which is a possible reason why it's getting all these bad reviews. There are a bunch of other references kind of thrown in. There's the 7, there are 7 days, Cam's number is 7, hinting that he's on a spiritual journey and transformation.
This was bad.
Then there are the 8
NFL,
rings.
so.
Saturn is the ruler of the number 8, so this is showing astrological knowledge. 8 is also a symbol for infinity, or a cycle, a loop. The owners want the 8 to never end, so they feed the 7 through the tunnel again and again. There are multiple name allegories like the white thing, but also Malik. Malik means king, and Marco did say it takes blood to grow a king. Also, Isaiah is a Bible prophet tied to sacrifice and false worship, so there's that. And the last thing I'll say, which is pretty obvious, is the commentary on sports being a religion. I've been talking about this for years. I even made a video called Sports Are Fake years ago that a lot of people liked, where I broke down how the whole thing's rigged and how they probably have tech we don't know about that controls the outcome. Even now, the sports betting stuff is getting out of control and it's being exposed that the betting systems are manipulated. So I think this movie's kind of an amalgamation of that. People are starting to see sports for what it really is, a religion.
Yeah, or a casino where they can get money. But y'all see, man, this was a good reaction, a good review. Fine and veiled. Can y'all hear me? Am I still? All right, am I still there? Right. Well, this was I wanted to show y'all another clip that there was not a clip, but this plays into the same thing of as far as black people creating. It's crazy they got my thing up there not shared. But check this out, y'all. I'm gonna play this Jacob. They say this was the first
100 years ago, and if you are white, he is your father. Not only that, you're also Greek, but we'll get to that.
Check this out.
Yaqub, as we know him, first appeared in the writings of Wallace Fard Muhammad, the founder of the Nation of Islam, simplified as the NOI, or NOI, which is an offshoot of mainstream Islam with a focus on black nationalism, and was expanded upon by his successor Elijah Muhammad, most specifically in his chapter Making of Devil in his 1965 book Message to the Black Man in America, which outlines the role of Yaqub in making the white devil race. To get the full picture of Yaqub, I would like to share his life story with you. Although the following story is not the same as the original story outlined by the Noi, as it expands upon a few extra plot elements such as the nature of Yaqub's origin. This is the most complete story of Yaqub I can find, and it is my personal favorite iteration. The story of Yaqub begins with aliens and the Hollow Earth. Thousands of years ago, many alien groups came to Earth after leaving their planet. Not much is known about their original planet.
Now, I think he goes a little too in on this. Y'all don't know, y'all, my camera kind of messing up, but pretty much let me bring y'all to this. Basically, they saying that it was a scientist, and this is what Farrakhan is saying. And this is the guy who was breeding and breeded to the white race. And they have no evidence to say that this isn't true, right? But it goes a little deeper, which that guy went a little deep into it. But there's actually people that believe it. You know, there are white men, and there are a lot of people that do believe that Farrakhan has been pushing it. They've been saying that this is their God. This is the one who created the white race. But let y'all watch the quick video of this one.
Did you ever wonder where white people come from? This is Yaqub, also known as Yaqub or Yaqub, the black scientist who lived 6,600 years ago and began the creation of the white race. And he was also Greek. Why is he looking like that alien from One Punch Man? Don't worry, Tommy, we'll get into that. At the start of human history, a variety of types of black people inhabited the moon. It was a paradise for everyone, just not for the big chief, the black god scientist. He became frustrated because all the people living on the moon did not speak one language. So he decided to blow up the moon. Yeah, you heard that right. A piece of this destroyed moon became the Earth. And that's how the Earth was created. So we've got the earth full of morally righteous black people. Some of them settled in the city of Mecca, and that's also where Yaqub was born. And now about the big head? Yes, Tommy, now about the big head. Yaqub was born with 2 brains, so he acquired unexpectedly the nickname Big Head. Thanks to those brains, he was super intelligent, and at the age of 6, he discovered the law of attraction and repulsion by playing with magnets made of steel. Steel is a heavy metal, sounds good. His discovery and bullying led him to a plan to create a new kind of people. He saw an unlike human being, made to attract others who could, with the knowledge of tricks and lies, rule the original black man. He discovered that the original black man contained both black germ and brown germ. By the age of 18, he gained all possible knowledge in the universities of Mecca. You're saying Mecca like before Islam? No, according to the story, Yaqub and others practiced Islam before Muhammad, but then it kind of got screwed up. Yaqub created a new doctrine called trichology. He fastly gained popularity with his promise that his followers were going to rule the world for 6,000 years. Wow, Yaqub was a rock star. No argues with that. Chicks wanted him, guys that used to bully him wanted to be like him. His plan was great, until the king started to be intimidated by potential threats. He started persecuting Yaqub and his followers by putting them into jail. But the number of followers was huge, so the king came up with a deal. He gave Yaqub a boat and released him with his 59,999 followers. 59,999 plus Yaqub makes 60k. You're so smart, Tommy. Anyway, he started to sail all across Africa, and during the voyage began his evil plan. There was once this chick who was a little paler than the others, so he banged her. If the child was lighter, it was saved. If not, it was thrown into the sea. Some of the followers were disgusted by his behavior, so they got off the boat and inhabited the African continent. That did not stop Yaqub. After some time, he landed on the isle called Pelan in the Aegean Sea, modern-day Patmos. Once there, he established a despotic regime, starting to breed out the black traits of his followers, killing all darker babies, and succeeded in creating a brown race after 200 years. Crazy, man. I'm starting to...
All right, so that's them breaking down. It's a breakdown of it, but I think that this is truth to this, right? Well, check this out. I want y'all to check out this. I've been trying to get this video, but this is a village, right, where they really live like that. Check this out.
Albinism. The highest rate of albino baby births in the world is here, about 10 times more than anywhere else. Because the gene pool is quite narrow due to consanguineous marriages. Since the people are black here and albinos are too white, people in the rural areas think that albinos are cursed for being too pale, and this curse could spread to other people. Rural population in Tanzania was reported at around 65%. Imagine that everyone you know, including your parents, has never met a white person. Some of your neighbors want to slaughter you, supposedly for bringing bad luck to your rural community. When some pregnant mothers make eye contact with a random albino kid in the streets, they spit on the ground to not give a birth to an albino child. There are witch doctors in Africa, and the people here rather to go to them instead of going to real doctors. And these witch doctors claim that albinos are cursed for being too white and they should be killed. And if their white limbs, such as arms and legs, are cut off and consumed by boiling them with herbs, they can cure diseases. Their diseased body is somehow believed to be some kind of cure for healing, and this gives another reason for albinos to be hunted.
How are you kids? You fine?
Thank you.
There are children up to 6th grade in this class.
As you can see, they're studying here in mixed classes. The reason he squints his eyes is that there's a lot of light here, and when they're exposed to light, these people have difficulty seeing. First of all, they need sunglasses, and you can see different spots on their skin. They need to use special lotion for these spots. They also have to wear hats to protect themselves from the sunlight, right? Yeah. This child is only just 6 years old. Their clothes seem cluttered. He has strabismus in his eyes. As the teacher told us, there are two types of albinism. Generally, white ones are known, but there are black albinos as well. This child, who wears a green hat, is a black albino. As I'm talking, the kid in the back is trying to hide himself from us. He's too shy. As you can see, he has white spots on his arm. Unlike the black spots on the others, this albino boy has white spots and visual impairment. You can see there are different skin diseases on his face. The teacher told us black albinos have more serious problems and their case is more difficult than others.
They have no longer life because their skin is near to get cancer. So they have no more life.
I don't know how true this is, but I think their health system made them to think that way. At the same time, most of them have hazel eye color. Almost all albinos have astigmatism, and their vision is between 10 to 20%. In addition to all these, due to the light sensitivity in their eyes, they struggle with nystagmus, which is also known as dancing eyes.
What? So basically, to show y'all this, we're telling y'all how the scientists, they say back in the days, created the white race. This all plays a part in it because you see how they were over there on the east with pale skin. So it's like, this is what they saying is the start of white supremacy. But yeah, man, I had to tap y'all into that. Appreciate everybody for tapping in. Yeah, I just wanted to hit y'all with that. And the movie, it was showed pretty much the boule. They got to deal with the higher ups. They are part of it too. I'm glad he said that. For y'all that didn't catch y'all should rewind this, man, and check out the ending part was real good. But shout out to Call Dog, man. Miss Mama Lisa, I appreciate you. Rev Jagar official, I appreciate you for tapping in. But yeah, man, I'm gonna be on here tomorrow. I'm gonna try to put together another good one for y'all tomorrow. Try to stand on the business. But man, I appreciate y'all for tapping in. Hope y'all appreciated this one. I'm gonna have one tomorrow for y'all. Peace and love.